touchy-feely rant here. But essentially, this is a play brought to life beautifully by director George C. Wolfe, and it has two powerhouse performances. I can keep on talking. You know I can. I've done it many times before. But if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. I don't know whether Nicola's on the line. She sent a brilliant letter, I want to say, with her thoughts on the film. But otherwise, just jump in. If you've got any thoughts, unmute, just get going.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Go for it, Paul.
Ali.
Shoot, what have you got?
Oh, you're talking to me, Al, sorry.
Yeah. If you've got any thoughts on the movie, please let us have them. What did you make of it?
Yes, it's got a bit naughty for me, man, if you like. But we watched that a few weeks ago because we like Chadwick Boseman, you know what I mean? But basically, it got a bit too much for me, man. She's like in her mid-60s, you know what I mean? But I enjoyed it. I like that kind of music as well. I'm very into that kind of music in a big way, like 20s and all that kind of era, and postmodern jukebox all day. Yeah. But it gave that spirit, and at first I didn't get it that it was a play kind of thing because he hadn't done the until you said through Katie on the message it was a play kind of structure. I just thought it was weird, but then I got it when I got the the lowdown on it when you asked me to, and I thought it was quite good. Then you know what I mean. I thought, all right, I get it, because it was a struggle by the fact that they were just getting, they were getting exploited massively, and played off as well. And Ma played it off even better. What an actress! But
she's incredible. Don't you feel that real kind of anger? When you're so on board with the character's emotions, that I think that the way the film does it is so beautiful. You start off by going, she's a bit much, right? And then quite quickly, without you even noticing it, you totally turn around and you feel like a bit of a swine for even thinking, oh, she's a diva, she's got all these requests, like the Coca-Cola bottles, for example. But she's so bang on. I keep your company afloat. I pay for everything here, the lights, the floor, the walls, everything. You are exploiting me, and I know it. I'm deigning to let you use my voice. I think she says something like, record it in one of those magic boxes or whatever. I think she's just amazing, and she's got power. And I think what makes her so special is that she will will force you to look at her power and acknowledge her strength in a way that some people might try to be subtle or sly. She's like, no, this is me. The mommy. Yeah, this is me. And you're saying you like the music?
Oh yeah, I love that kind of genre. Like, have you done anything about postmodern jukebox, where they do modern music to an old 20s kind of swing style? Ideal all day long. Postmodern jukebox, an American group, but he's a pianist, and now they just do jazz. And Stacey's mum is my favourite, it's done to a.
That's great.
Everything. You'd have to look them up, PNJ, on YouTube, and you'll be entertained. You'll never put it down. They were supposed to be in here, but they're not now.
It's fascinating because I honestly didn't know all that much about this sort of music. And I, hands up, had no idea about Ma Rainey. Like, she's not someone that I came across on a Wikipedia trawl ever. Until this movie was made, I think she could easily have been one of those footnotes in history. They keep referring to Bessie, and she's somebody who's like a much bigger deal. Like, she had, hundreds of photographs of her, and there were only like 7 of Ma Rainey. Like, if you look through the archives through history, though she is called universally the mother of the blues, she hasn't, like, the PR, she didn't play well. People called her butch, they called her arrogant, they called her difficult to work with, which, by the way, I guess she was from one perspective. But the fact that she even was willing to sign, that bit outside the car when she's got the pen, part of me is just like, nah, let him dangle. Go. You're better than this. And it's similar, right? Like when she's fighting for her nephew.
Yeah.
Again, they play it so well. You go, don't let him do it. This is going to be an embarrassment. No one's going to win here. They won't get the recording in the can. They're going to waste all this vinyl, all this money, all this time. Don't do it. And when he does do it, you feel such victory. And you've got nothing to do with it. But that's the magic of cinema. It gives you that feeling. It's an empathy machine. I keep saying it. And it lets you feel how he's feeling, Sylvester, and how she's doing. Because she's absolutely right. You've got to give people a chance, otherwise they'll never have a chance. I know that sounds perverse, but unless you've got the opportunity, you can never do it. I think she's a great character. And again, it's so interesting. She's only in the movie for about 27, 28 minutes. And by the way, I am now going to drink Coca-Cola like she does.
Yeah, that was ace.
And it's like everything she does, essentially a big energy move. The way she dresses, the way she walks, the way she speaks, the way she sings, like this amazing, gravelly, powerful, sweaty sound. She's an outstanding person, and I'm so glad this movie exists to help us learn more about her. I think it's interesting that back in the day on Broadway, because this obviously again was a play, she was performed by Whoopi Goldberg during the revival, and man, I'd love to see that. I think that would be really interesting to see. But anyway, she's amazing. But let's go over to the character that Chadwick Boseman plays, who is, of course, Levy Green. And I think obviously Levy is an interesting choice for a name. You might know the Led Zeppelin song. I should point out, not their song, the song they cover, When the Levee Breaks. And he gets, I'd say, about 4 or 5, no, this is my movie moments, right? So him walking in with yellow shoes, him having a discussion about the existence of God and threatening somebody with a knife, and the gobsmacking, jaw-dropping, this is what happened to my mother, 8 or 9 men. It's
hardcore.
That's the word. It's super hardcore.
Yeah, I mean,
she's outstanding. And you know, there are some movies where you feel like you can go and put the kettle on at some point, or you know, I'll just pop out for a pee. None of that. Like when he's on screen, when he's trying to hammer a door down that he is convinced didn't exist earlier. The bit that really got me in this movie is when he's being fobbed off with the $5 at the end. Oh, you're so incensed. And I feel this kind of emotional, it's like torture, where he goes, let me do you a favor, you know, let me take them off your hands. They're just not interested right now. That final band is actually meant to be, or based on, Paul Whiteman's orchestra. Now, Paul Whiteman, what a name. Whiteman. And this happened all the time. And it's indicative of exploitation up and down. And it's heartbreaking and horrible, but it's about the money. And it just brutal to see the movie end with a group of white people just mangling their sound. I just, it really gets you annoyed. What other bits jumped out for you though, Paul? I'm just waffling.
I wondered whether Chadwick was he actually playing? I mean, he's obviously, I watched his fingers working to the music, and I couldn't notice him missing, gauges in his fingers. I'm not right up on the trumpet. I play guitar and sing, but I couldn't tell whether he was digitally announced or whether he was actually doing that, because he was really good. Like he played it.
I agree. He sells it. Like you believe that he's doing it, but I don't think any of the actors were actually performing the instruments, I'm sad to say. And the other thing I should point out is that Viola Davis wasn't singing. The only time she does sing is when she's, I'm going to use the polite term, hugging her female acquaintance. That's her singing in a kind of, talky, raspy way. But otherwise, there were professionals doing it.
Can I say something?
Oh, Nicole, you're here. Any chance you've got headphones you could put in, because you're doing there's a feedback.
I have headphones, but I don't think other people do. Sorry. Okay.
No chance you got headphones at all? Because we'd love to hear from you, but I just feel like it's picking up what you're saying back and then looping.
A suggestion, maybe we all mute, and then if Nicole tries to speak,
Yep, I'm game.
That might help.
The floor is yours, Nicole. This is, of course, when she's run off to get some headphones. Nicole did send the most absolutely outstanding letter, like I mentioned earlier.
Hi, I think this is a little better.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right, give us your thoughts. I've been waffling. Paul said a few things.
Oh, yeah.
I've got your great letter in front of me. Let's have it.
Oh, thank you. So I watched a video after watching the movie, and it was about it was more in-depth explanation about the movie and everything. And Chadwick actually he actually learned how to play the trumpet because I thought that was really interesting, because that shows his commitment to his role.
I think he did learn it, but I just don't think the recorded product is his, if that makes sense. I think he could do a good crack of it, but the actual polished product wasn't so what Paul was saying, the fingering was perfect, but
yeah.
Anyway, I interrupted you.
No, that's kind of what I wanted to say at this moment.
It's fascinating, the music, isn't it? Because you are learning so much. I don't know why, but they use a cornet instead of a trumpet. I still can't work that out. But another great moment was talking about leftovers, about the African-American experience, the diaspora as being leftovers over the piano. And that happens after such a powerful, angry speech from Chadwick. I think the way the director, Wolf, balances the tone and the rhythm it's quite masterful. It's very, very good. Nicole, I was wondering, whilst you're here, whether you'd like to say what your standout moments were. Are you gone, Nicole? Have you left us?
No. I'm just thinking of how to word it correctly. I really liked when Mark really supported Sylvester in the whole stuttering thing, because I struggle with speaking, and I wouldn't like it if other people told me I couldn't do something because I suffer because I sometimes struggle to speak. And I was really happy. I mean, it's not the biggest standout moment, but for me, it made me kind of really happy, because it's it showed another side to her, I think, that you don't get to see when she was interacting with the producers, because she's actually in it for the blues. She's not in it to sell things like everyone else is. She's not. It's like a collective movement for her, and it's not. But the producers, they think it's just a chance to sell some, get some money and everything. And when she interacted with Sylvester, you can see warmth and love, and it was, I really like that.
I agree. We were mentioning just earlier how you feel really proud of her and of him when it happens, because he's been given that opportunity. Yes, it took 8 or 9 times, but that makes the victory all the sweeter. And I think, again, to begin with, you go, are you really going to fight tooth and nail so that he has his wage? Why don't you get paid $225 and then give him 25? But come the end, you're like, my God, has he earned it? And this is more than just X number of dollars. This is giving somebody who is ignored and not allowed to show themselves, not allowed to try, put to one side and said, just don't even bother. It's important that they get their own wage, they get their own fee, which is just a recurring theme throughout the movie. The fact that Levy's been writing music off his own back and just been doing it. He's gone ahead and doing it. It's the new sound, it's this new energy. But then to be dismissed, don't get me wrong, what he does is appalling. Like, what he does is terrible. But for a second you go, I can see myself being that angry. What did you guys think of that shocking stabbing? There's no better word of saying it.
I just think, even though it's in that is the music industry in general, I don't think that's necessarily a coloured or not coloured thing. I think, because I have them problems right now, you know, but I related to it in a massive way, you know what I mean? It's just how it is, you know. I mean, I find it very hard to even get in a studio. So, but I totally related to it, absolutely 100%. If that was one of his last scenes on Chadwick's side, I thought he had a massive, powerful performance.
Oh,
and
yeah. I just wonder whether there was a way of making you understand why he did it. I think maybe there's no way of doing it. You just have to make it a quick, snap, unbelievable moment. When he's asking for help him. And then realizing that he can't be helped. He's taken a life. It's an extraordinary revelation of someone who did something in the moment and has totally broken everything. Everything. They've thrown it all away in that silly moment. In that awful moment, I shouldn't say silly. I just think it's an astonishing thing. And I think a lot of people say that plays getting turned into movies don't really work. And I would put this film in front of them as an example. Another one might be Glengarry Glen Ross. I don't know if you guys have seen that, which is got very punchy dialogue and some iconic scenes, to say the least. Always Be Closing, that sort of thing. But it deals with injustice and anger and the system. And I think that scene alone makes this movie worth the watch, because you think to yourself, how could anybody ever do that? And then this movie lays out all the pieces of someone's psyche, for the most part, and lets you take that journey, that horrible journey that he's on. Now, Nicole, you were saying in your letter, you were talking about the leftovers thing, which I mentioned earlier. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, or to the racism side of things? I know that's obviously a massive topic, but
one of the I think there's a big metaphor and like to be made in the film, because you know when he wants to find Chadwick or Levy, he wants to see what's behind that door, and then
yes.
he finds out what it is, and in a way it makes sense, and it's like it's not even. It's really sad, because you realise that that's what reality was then, and in a large part still is. Like, we're just, like, a lot of us especially.
Just locked out.
Yeah. And it's like they're hammering, and all they can do is just find another cage to be locked in. And it's like, no matter how bright your yellow shoes are, or how jolly you are in dancing, and no matter how many people say that they're gonna like help you, with Chadwick, like, we are allowed to hope, and we can sing and dance with him, and then it doesn't work out anyway. Like, and
yeah,
that's kind of depressing. But
it is. But it's telling you bleak truths. Typically, especially these days, we don't want to hear tough stuff because we've got enough going on. But I found it very moving, the conversations around just wanting to have fun and being happy and having a good time, and actually going, well, what are we going to do? What's a positive, better than just having a good time thing to do? And everything just seems so fruitless. Like, why bother? Futile. You think, oh, this is just too much. I just can't do it. And it's particularly sad because Levy is such a creative person that he's coming up with a sound that the recording guys upstairs want. He's got something. There is something magic about him, but he's being compressed and locked away by the system. And you can't just dance the blues away, so to speak. You know, there needs to be an opening of the door to give people an opportunity. That $5 a song, take it off your hands. It's absolutely brutal. I know this is a moderately technical thing, but we need to talk about how great the costumes are. They won an Oscar, and the general setting. Recreating 1920s America is not an easy feat. It requires so much detail, from the deli to the shoe shop and shoe shine, the cars. You know, that car, I'm going to use this ridiculous word, crash. This is all really tricky stuff. And I think the way they light it and the way they put it on, where they place it in the screen, is all really nicely done. I love that Ma Rainey says, you're going to go fix my car and you're going to fix it today. Imagine getting that service right now. Anyway, I absolutely love that. And I think this is maybe the first time I've watched a movie where you see a diva or a egomaniac and you're fully on board with where they're coming from. Because often you see kind of walk the line type stuff and you're a bit like, well, I don't know. But this, I don't know, she's special. The other thing to know Oscar-wise is that this is the first time since Walk the Line that you've got both Best Actress and Best Actor nomination, but no Best Picture nomination, which is moderately unusual. But again, it's just so odd that Chadwick didn't win, because it felt like, it would have felt like such a perfect moment. I don't know whether you guys saw in the press that they actually rejigged the whole order of the ceremony so that Best Actor was the final award given, because there was such a presumption that Chadwick Boseman would win, and we'd all have that catharsis of this person that we loved would posthumously get their award. But I think perhaps he was a victim of a presumption that because everyone would vote for him, people didn't vote for the person who maybe deserved it more. Anyway, rewinding back a bit, visually capturing that time is very difficult. If you want to get into the kind of socio-political stuff, the Great Migration that was happening 10, 20 years beforehand of sharecroppers and rural Black farm workers that had been emancipated, going to the north, going to the city, and then finding out that their lives were just going to be another version of that, but in tenement housing or in ghettos. They don't go deep into that, but it's worth looking up that side of things. 1920s Black culture was this fantastic thing, all these different dance crazes. The name of this movie is The Black Bottom, and that dance craze is a Black dance craze, but it gets eaten up by white culture and then becomes mainstream. And if you look at rock and roll, I'm sure, Paul, you can agree with me here, Elvis, for example, is heralded as the king of rock and roll, but many, many, many people would say that what he did was repackage and reformulate something that Black people have been doing much earlier. And I think that's a lot of what you see here in this movie. Right. What else do we want to talk about? What would we be upset with ourselves for not having discussed? Let's see here. Critically, of course, it got absolutely 98% Rotten Tomatoes. I suppose I want to ask you guys, if we hadn't suggested this as a film club film, would you have watched it?
Watched it weeks ago.
Now we've got a shake of the head from Michael. I think, I know this is puerile, the name is just so odd that a lot of people just go, Ma Rainey's what? And then jazz has this element of pushing you back. How did you feel, Michael, having watched it? Are you glad that you took the time, Michael, to press play and watch it? You were happy. What were your thoughts generally? Are you as positive as we are about the film? Yep, got a thumbs up there. would you recommend the movie? Everybody, I'm asking this. Would you recommend this movie to other friends now?
At first, I thought it was going to be naff, but then I watched it and I actually started liking it. And I thought, yeah, this is actually not bad at all. I liked it, but yeah, this game was a bit sad. I mean, it was a bit sad, but at the same time, I was saying that, and it does make points about certain things. And that's why I like it.
I agree that it took me a while to get into it, like to get into its rhythm. I was a bit like, okay, this is a lot to digest. Like there's a lot going on and I don't really understand this. I wasn't charmed by anybody, but then you start becoming charmed essentially by Rainey and Levy, and you're like, I'm on board. We've got Colleen saying, yes, I'd recommend the movie. Does anybody else want to say, you know, is there anybody in particular that you might recommend it to? Because I would say it's not an instant recommend to everybody. But I think if people express interest, I kind of point them in the direction of it. Because I don't think I'd, like you were saying, Paul, I don't think I'd watch this with my mum. But I think
my family members.
Yeah.
A couple of my family members like blues, so I'm not into them.
Lovely, yeah. If they've got any interest in the blues, they absolutely must watch it. I think it's also a pleasing 94 minutes long. We've talked about this before, but so many films outstay their welcome. But this says in 94 minutes, 10 times as much as many other movies that last 4 hours. I don't want to say the words Justice League, but I guess I have. No, it's a great film. And dare I say, it's a great little film. And I hope we get to see more of these adaptations of these plays by August Wilson, because they're very special, and they say, as I say, a worrying amount about the present day. The other movie, I often like to end with a recommendation for another film. The other one would be Fences. That is a harder watch, even harder than this, and it's, I think, stagier, but it's powerful, and it's got a fantastic Denzel Washington performance in it as well, and it's more about family. Not that this doesn't include a lot about family, but it's more about family. Does anybody else want to chip in with their thoughts? As this is the last one, I'm giving you free reign to say whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I watched it because I like that era, and it's the only film that's come out since Brother on that era. The music with George Clooney in it. That was what I expected, but I thought I'd get a bit of the countryside, like you said, the poverty and how it came about. I would have liked to have seen a bit of that in it, like the dust that happened and stuff, And
did anyone last night?
It completely through that whole thing, and a bit of comedy as well. It needed a bit of that, like a bit of light-hearted. Would have kept me mum going.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I would recommend, of course, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I totally echo what Paul says. It does have that balance of real fun and adventure. And speaking of the Coen brothers of a similar era, you might want to watch Miller's Crossing, which is a gangster movie with incredible dialogue, but set at a similar time. It's more prohibition-y, but 1920s esque-ish era. So yeah, that was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, a film that we've not done justice to really at all, because it has so many different layers and just so much to dig into. The violence alone, the racial segregation essentially that took place. And I still can't get over the final scene with the white musicians stealing their work. But may I say on a personal note that I've thoroughly enjoyed all of these film clubs, and it's been really so lovely to share films with you that, like I say with this film, you might not press play on at all, even with the Oscar nominations and all the praise and the 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. You've all been absolute stars. It's a shame all of us can't all be here at the same time, but I'll catch you guys on an email, or I'll send my thoughts around. But it's been great. I really have had a great time, and I hope you guys have had too. I've got a thumbs up from Michael. I appreciate that. Put myself out on a limb there.
I've had a good time as well.
Thank you, Nicole. I've been really enjoying your letters. I keep calling them letters, but your thoughts. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all she wrote. I imagine we're all about to have dinner now. Have a fantastic rest of your days, weeks, months, years. Hopefully see you soon. And if you ever want any film recommendations, just find me on Twitter and I'll send something your way that's good on Netflix. But in the meantime, thanks again.